Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today I have a monochromatic card using the Concord and Ninth Wreath Turnabout stamp set. I'm using this bottom thinner wreath today. I've used the top one before on a different card. I'm going to start with my Misty. I'm going to use my creative corner here so I can hang over the edge. I've created this 6x6 template and crisscrossed it with lines from corner to corner. And I've also labeled each quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. This template is needed for all the Concord and Ninth Turnabout stamps. If you turn the packaging over, it gives you an X through the stamp image so you can easily line it up with your template. I have extended this X on the packaging to the very edge so that I can line it up with the crisscross lines on my template. And then I'll place the stamp right over the image so it's perfectly on top. And then I can close my lid and I know that I'm going to get the perfect alignment every single time I turn my template. Next, I'll remove this and I'm going to replace it with the cardstock I'm going to stamp onto. This is some Stampin' Up! Crumb Cake. And I want my wreath to be off to the side. So I'm just sort of figuring out where I need to adhere my crumb cake to my template so that my wreath comes out where I want it. And it's just a little bit above the bottom so you can see it's off center. I'm just going to put some masking tape there to hold it in place while I turn this around every time I stamp. So I'm going to make sure I have it nice and snug in the corner here, and I'm going to start my stamping. I have worn lipstick, picked raspberry, and candied apple for my 3 colors. I'm actually going to use 4. My 4th one is going to be white. So I'm going to stamp this down in the worn lipstick first. Then I will take it and rotate it 90 degrees to my quadrant 2. It helps to label these with 1, 2, 3, and 4 so you don't lose track of where you are. And then I'll take my picked raspberry and I'll ink this up and stamp it down. And then I decided that I wanted to do it again. So I inked it up one more time and stamped it down so I got a little bit more of a darker image. Now I'll rotate this again for quadrant 3 and notice I'm going to have to overhang my creative corner there. But that's perfectly fine. It's easier to overhang the creative corner than it is to overhang the actual edge of the Misty. So I'm going to move my masking tape a little bit just to give it a little bit of flexibility in lifting while I stamp it. And then for my final color, I'm using candied apple, and I'm just going to stamp this one time. I've got one more quadrant to do. This is quadrant 4, and again, I'm going to have to overlap my creative corner a little bit, but that's fine. Make sure it's nice and snug in the corner. And I'm using Stampin' Up! Whisper White ink. And I'm going to stamp that down, and then I decided to do one more layer of ink just to get it a little brighter. So here is the wreath. It is just so beautiful. I love the flowers in this wreath. It's very delicate and feminine. There is a set of 3 dots that comes with this stamp set, and what I'm going to do is take these 3 dots with my same Stampin' Up! White ink here, and I'm just going to stamp it all around my wreath. Everywhere I see that there is kind of a little hole that I can fit these 3 dots into. So I am stamping it quite a bit, and at first I started with a pattern, but then it wasn't really working out, so I just started doing it pretty randomly. And you can see how it thickens up the wreath and really makes it so beautiful. For my sentiment, I'm using the Thinking of You from Sheltering Tree by Stampin' Up! I'm going to stamp that with VersaFine ink onto some Neenah cardstock. I'm going to take a glue dot, this is 1/8 of an inch, I'll roll it between my fingers and place it right where I want my bow to tie. I'm going to use some Stampin' Up! Linen thread, so I'll unwind this here, and you can squeeze it between your thumb fingernail and your pointer finger to get those crimps out of it. Now I've cut a piece and I'm going to tie the first part where I just kind of tie it against the cardstock here, and I'm going to make sure that where I pull it is right on top of my glue dot, and once I get it done I can press it down and it'll stay in place, and that way I have time, I don't have to hold that down while I'm tying my bow. So then I'll make a nice pretty bow out of this, and I'll cut off the edges. And it's okay that my tails are up and down. I'm good with that. They don't have to be both in the same direction. I'm going to cut my crumb cake cardstock to 4 by 5 1/4, and then I'm going to make a little dot where I want the center of my banner to be, and then I'll cut from each corner to that pencil mark. And this just makes a nice little finished edge for the sentiment. And then I'm going to take my ATG tape runner, put it on the back of my crumb cake, and adhere it to a Neenah Solar White folded card. I'll put some Scotch foam tape on the back of my sentiment, and then I'll place it there so that it kind of starts in the middle of the wreath. And that is the card for today. I have several of these turnabout stamps and I really like them. It makes creating a design very easy. I hope you enjoyed that and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.